Look what I've made. I am so pleased with myself, and you could be pleased with yourself too. I've taken out my spray paints and given these containers a new lease of life. So although we're in lockdown and we can't get out to the shops or the charity shops, you can bring something new into your life by spray painting vases and containers that you've already got at home. Go and admit it, you're really fed up with all those vases and containers you've been using month on month throughout the year. And with lockdown, we can't go out to buy any new ones, whether that's from the charity shop or real life high street shops. How about using some spray paint and to give your vases a new lease of life, and it'll feel like you've got something brand new to enjoy at home. As you can see, I've been getting my spray paint out. This mug here was originally a sort of mossy green, and I've been using it as a planter for my hyacinth bulbs. And this here was a little zinc pot, which has been outside of my garden for ages and ages. The daffodils I put in have gone over now, so I need to put those into the garden and perhaps stick up some new ones to put in again. And what do you think about this? Originally, this was a little glass bowl that I picked up from the charity shop for about 50p. And I've put in a little pink candle and spray painted it blue. And again, it's got a new lease of life. And these are my favourites. This was the most ugliest vase you could ever imagine. I picked up for 50p at a car boot sale. I'll tell you more about that later. And here, something a little slicker and more modern with a 3-toned paint colour. So if you're intrigued and want to know what these pieces look like before I painted them, watch on to the end of the video and I'll reveal all my secrets. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment down below and subscribe to my channel. This is a selection of spray paints I've been using. They're a mix of Plasticoat and the Painter's Touch paints as well. I don't have a preference, it just depends on the colour I like and the best price that I can find. And I've also used some of this Plasticoat Hobby and Craft sealer just to make sure the paint doesn't chip off. So all the pieces I've spray painted didn't cost very much money at all. They were probably, 50p each at the charity shop and various car boot fairs. So originally, this little dish was glass. Well, it's still glass, isn't it? It looked a little bit like this, one of the little bonbon bowls you can pick up just for a few pence. So I couldn't quite decide whether it was a little dish or whether it was a candlestick holder, and in the end I decided I liked it as a candlestick holder. So I sprayed it over with a couple of layers of the blue spray paint from Plasticoat. So when I do my spraying, I always do it in a well-ventilated room, and actually I used to do it out on my patio, but I've discovered that even when on a still day, that sometimes the spray gets carried away and you end up with more of the spray on the patio floor or your patio table than you do on the piece that you want to actually have covered in paint. So I do my spraying now in my workshop, which is my converted garage, and I leave the doors open so I've got a through breeze of air. I use the same technique when I spray painted all my containers, and I have them set upside down. And this is a tip that I have picked up from Yvonne from the Ginger Chick Rehab, and I'll leave a link to her channel up in the cards above the video. And what she suggests that you paint the underside first in order that when you turn over the good side that you don't ruck it up and you'll have a really neat spray paint finish. One of the other tips I found helpful as well was to use a turntable. So being a florist, I've got plenty of turntables to hand, and I put mine on an old kitchen stool which I covered with a dust sheet and then put my piece on the top, and it just means you can spray paint really easily because you flick the table round, and it means you get really good coverage all in one go. It's not as if you have to spray paint one side and then turn the other side over as well. I had a tiny bit of trouble painting this pink, and I had my paint dribbling all over the place, but I discovered that the little pull-off tab here that you need to press down before you can start spray painting wasn't pushed down and taken off. So I, as you can see with my dribbles here, it was user error, and as soon as I got rid of that whole of that tab there, the paint went on much more smoothly. And the other thing you need to do is to remember it takes a couple of layers to build up your paint. So start off with a really, really light cover of paint and then let it dry and then keep spray painting it. And I probably did these containers over a course of 2 or 3 days. Every time I walked into my workshop, I picked up the spray can and just did a quick shh, 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 and then put the can to one side and moved on to the next piece. And because I had all my pieces on newspaper on top of my turntable, it meant I could lift them off and put them on my side to dry and then bring the next piece along and spray paint that. So I had a little production line going. I didn't have to work on one piece from beginning to end. I worked on all the pieces, spray painting them in the different colours. Now these are my favourite pieces. The glass cylinder here was just a plain... Oops, that didn't go very well, did it? But what I started off with was a very simple glass vase, straight up and down, just like this tumbler. And I put a piece of masking tape around the edge, and this was the bit that's going to be gold. So I went all the way around the edge with that, spray painted the top section pink, and I just masked off the bottom with some newspaper in order that it didn't get covered up with paint. So it was pink here, masked off here, and plain glass at the bottom. And the paint was dry. I sprayed it with my sealer just to seal the paint in place, because then I had to mask off the pink section in order that I could spray paint the bottom of the vase green. Kept the masking tape in place, masked off the top with the newspaper, and then came in with my green spray paint at the bottom. And when that was dry, I took off the newspaper, peeled off the masking tape to reveal my central strip. So I had a band of pink, a band of green, and the plain glass in the middle. And then I masked off the top sections here. So again, wrapping newspaper around the top. Something like that. And then I held that in place with my masking tape to give me a really crisp edge. So I lined that up with the blank piece of glass that hadn't previously been painted. So I did that at the top to cover the pink, repeated exactly the same thing at the bottom to cover up the green, and then I got actually some Oasis spray paint in gold, because that's what I had to hand, and sprayed the middle section gold, and then very carefully peeled everything off. And fortunately I didn't lift off any paints. That worked really well. The trick of putting the sealer in just to protect and seal in the paint was a really good idea. And this jug, when I bought it, was the ugliest thing ever. It was 50p at a car boot sale, and there was something about it I just couldn't resist. And it actually says made in England at the bottom with the number 1189. It's got this lovely ridging through it, and it was a sort of mottled darkish brown colour. And when I came to clean the jug before I painted it, as I started to clean, actually some of the top coating started to come off, and it looked like it was cream underneath. So I don't know whether the brown was the top finish, or whether it was just brown through age and dirt. So it must have been something that perhaps was several years old, perhaps 10, 20, 30, 40 years old. And what I like about this is the shape. It's got that lovely triangular form to it. So I did exactly the same thing for this, turned it upside down on my turntable, being very careful because it was just resting on its lip there, and giving that 2 or 3 coats of paint until I got really good coverage, and then turned it up the right way round and finished the paintwork at the top. And to fill my vases and containers, in this one I've got some twigs here, and I found these. A tree had been blown down in the wind, and I just went along with my secateurs and cut off some of the branches, and they've been in water and in the warmth of my living room. The buds are starting to swell, so I've got high hopes that I'll soon have some tiny leaves here. I think my little candlestick looks absolutely perfect. You'll have to let me know in the comments whether you like it like this as a candlestick holder, or whether you think it should be a tiny little glass bowl. And my pink mug, well, that had hyacinth bulbs in it, have now gone over. And also with my little yellow container here, well, it looked fabulous a few days ago when it had the yellow tater-tate daffodils in it, but they've gone over now. So what I'm going to do is plant my bulbs back in the garden, and I'll have something to look forward to till next year. So I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I hope I've inspired you to shop your home too, see what you can add new life to by giving it a spray paint. I'd love to know how you get on. I've got a really great free Facebook group, Flower Start World. I'll leave a link to it in the description in the show notes underneath the video. And I'd be love to see you there, and perhaps you can share with me your before and after projects. Well, that's all from me, and I'll see you again in the next video. I just need to go and get my dustpan and brush out and clear away all that broken glass.